everyone, and welcome to Voices Unfiltered, the podcast where we dive into meaningful conversations about lives, growth, and experiences that shape who we are. I'm Andrea, and I'm joined with Joreen and Tiffany.
Hey everyone, I'm Jerain. It's great to be here, and I'm really excited for today's topic because it's the one of those conversations that can connect with absolutely anyone.
And I'm Tiffany. Thanks for tuning in. Wherever you may be listening from, whether you're commuting, doing homework, or relaxing at home, or just taking quiet moment for yourself, we're glad you're spending time with us. Today's topic is called Lessons for Life. And honestly, this feels like one of the most universal subjects we could ever talk about because every single person, no matter where they come from, learns lessons through life.
Exactly. Some lessons come from happy moments, some from painful experiences, and also some from mistakes we wish we could undo. But every lesson leaves something behind. Wisdom, perspective, or growth.
And the interesting thing is sometimes we don't realize we're learning a lesson until much later. A difficult situation can seem meaningless in the moment, but years later it becomes something that changes us completely. That's so true. Sometimes the moment we struggle through the most become the moments we later describe as turning points in our lives.
And that's what makes life lessons so fascinating. They're personal, but at the same time, deeply relatable.
So let's start with the big question. Why do life lessons matter so much?
I think life lessons matter because they help us evolve. Without them, we'll stay stuck in the same patterns, making the same choices, and never really growing.
I agree. Lessons give meaning to experiences. Imagine going through hardship but never learning anything from them. That pain would just stay safe. But when you learn from it, it becomes something valuable. That's a powerful way to put it. Pain without meaning feels heavy, but pain with a lesson becomes transformative.
And also, not every lesson comes from dramatic moments either. Sometimes it's small everyday experiences, like realizing the importance of patience while waiting for something, or learning gratitude through simple moments.
Exactly. Life teaches us constantly. Even ordinary conversation can carry lessons if we pay attention. I also think lessons matter because they shape characters. They affect how we treat people, how we handle failure, and how we make decisions.
Yes, and as we grow older, we start realizing that wisdom often comes from repeated experience, not just a knowledge.
There's a difference between knowing something and truly understanding it because you've lived through it. Let's move into one of the biggest life lessons. Failure is not the end.
This one is so important because people often attach shame to failure.
And that shame can stop people from trying again, which is sad because failure is often where real progress begins. I remember when I felt that something I had worked on for months. At the time, I felt defeated. I thought all my efforts had gone to waste.
That feeling is so common. When something doesn't work out, it can feel like your effort meant nothing.
Exactly. But later, I realized that experience taught me discipline and resilience more than success ever could have. That's the thing about failure. It teaches lessons success hides.
Success feels good, but failure forces reflection. It asks difficult questions. What went wrong? What can I improve?
And honestly, many successful people only got where they are because they kept going after failure. Failure can redirect us toward better paths.
Sometimes, failing at one thing protects us from ending up in the wrong place.
And failure reminds us that setbacks are temporary, not permanent definition of who we are. Let's talk about time. A lesson many people learn too late.
Time is one of those things all have, but we rarely value properly until we feel it's slipping away.
And unlike money, once time is gone, it's gone forever. That's what makes it so precious. We spend so much time worrying about the future, regretting the past, that we miss the present.
Yes, and the present is where life actually happens.
I think one of the saddest realization is looking back and wishing you had spent more time with people who are no longer there. That's true. People often assume there will always be another chance to say thank you, to apologize, to reconnect.
But life doesn't always give us unlimited chances.
That's why being intentional with time matters. Spend it wisely, give it to people and experiences that matter. And also protect your time. Not everything deserves your energy.
Now let's talk about relationships. Relationships are some of life's greatest gifts, but they are also responsibilities.
And they require ongoing care. Even strong bonds weaken if neglected.
People sometimes assume closeness maintains itself automatically. But connection needs communication, honesty, and presence.
A friendship can fade simply because neither person makes time anymore.
And misunderstanding happens when people stop expressing themselves openly. That's why communication matters so much. Silence creates distance.
Listening matters too, not just hearing words, but understanding feeling.
Healthy relationships are built not from what sides. And forgiveness is part of that too. Because no relationship is perfect. Let's move into self-care. This is such an important lesson because many people confuse rest with weakness.
But rest is not weakness, it's maintenance.
You can function well when exhausted all the time. And burnout affects every part of life. Health, mood, relationships, and productivity.
Sometimes self-care means taking breaks before completely to crash.
And sometimes it means saying no without guilt. Protecting your peace is healthy, not selfish.
You deserve the same care you give to others.
Let's share personal lessons that changed us. Mine is learning not to compare my timeline to others. I used to feel behind whenever I saw people achieving goals faster than me.
That pressure can be overwhelming.
It can, but I realized growth isn't a race.
Mine is learning to speak up. Staying silent once caused regret I still remember.
That's a hard lesson.
It taught me honesty matters, even when uncomfortable.
Mine is learning how project once broken, rebuilding it takes enormous effort. If we could leave each listener's one lesson, what would it be? Don't be afraid to begin again.
Faith can teach, but don't let it define forever.
And mine is keep learning. Growth ever stops. Life keeps changing. And so should we.
The best version of ourselves is always still becoming.
Life lessons are everywhere. Enjoy, loss, mistakes, and second chances. Some arrive quietly, others shake us deeply.
But every lesson has a value if we're willing to reflect on it.
And often, the hardest lessons become the ones we're most grateful for later. Because they shape wisdom.
And wisdom shape how we live.
That's all for today's episode of Voices Unfiltered. We hope this conversation gave you something meaningful to think about.
Thanks for listening and remember, every experience has something to teach.
Go. See you next time!
Today's topic is called Lessons for Life. And honestly, this... Ulit. The situation can seem meaningless in the moment, but years later it becomes sometimes interesting and the interest hard. Cut! Game na. Tas. Sila lang parang si Andy yung tawag. Game na. Nalagay na last game. Exactly. Some lessons come from happy moments, some from painful experiences, and also some from mistakes. We. Like how we treat people. Ulit. People. Even knowing something and sure there's a difference between repeated experience. Not just. One is so important. Process reflection. It asks difficult. May dumaan sa siya. Good questions. What went wrong? What can I improve? Ulit.
us that setbacks are not important. And you rarely value properly. Ulit. And unlike money, one is God, one is that's what
I think one of the saddest realities.
Paano naman ang ano ko eh? Wala naman dyan yung ano ko eh. Responsibility. Mabaho yan. Ay. But rest is not weakness. It's meant protecting your ulit. Yeah. If we could live it, ulit, 1, 2, 3. Changing, and so should be. That's all for today's episode of Voices Unfiltered. We hope this See you next time! Sabay-sabay tayo. 1, 2, 1.